Apple reportedly eyeing a launch for a foldable iPhone as soon as next year, as the company looks for their next leg of growth, with shares down double digits since January. Steve Kovac here to talk about the rumors, I guess we'll call them, Steve. What do we know?
Hearing about this for a number of years, Sarah. In fact, going back 6 or 7 years that Apple was kind of dabbling in this idea of a foldable phone. To Ming-Chi Kuo, he's that analyst over at TF International Securities. He's really tapped into the supply chain. He says this is going to go into mass production.
Apple is finally doing it. After years of watching competitors experiment, fail, refine, and iterate, Apple is stepping into the foldable phone market. And when Apple moves, it never does so quietly. The iPhone Fold isn't just another new device, it's a statement. A calculated power move designed to reshape the smartphone landscape and remind the world exactly who still controls the premium end of consumer technology. Next year, Apple's iPhone lineup will look very different. Instead of flooding the market with variations, Apple is expected to release just 3 models: the iPhone 18 Pro, the iPhone 18 Pro Max, and the one device that will dominate headlines, the iPhone Fold. This isn't Apple playing catch-up. This is Apple waiting until the moment was right, then entering the market on its own terms. Foldable phones aren't new. Samsung, Huawei, and others have spent years refining the concept. They experimented with clamshell designs like the Galaxy Z Flip and book-style foldables like the Z Fold. Apple reportedly explored both approaches as well. But ultimately, Apple chose the book-style fold, and for one very specific reason. Apple believes it has solved the biggest problem foldables have faced since day one: the crease. For years, foldable phones have suffered from a visible and tactile crease down the middle of the display. It's not a manufacturing defect, it's physics. Bend an OLED screen enough times, and you're going to see where it folds. That crease has been the single biggest compromise users have had to accept. No matter how impressive foldables looked in marketing videos, the crease always reminded you that this was still experimental technology. Apple doesn't like compromises. According to reports, Apple's iPhone Fold uses a metal plate beneath the display that redistributes pressure evenly when the device bends. Combined with a liquid metal hinge, the result is something that sounds almost impossible: a foldable display with no visible crease. When unfolded, the screen appears seamless, flat, and uninterrupted, something no major foldable has truly achieved so far. If Apple pulls this off, it instantly changes the perception of foldable phones. What once felt like a novelty suddenly feels inevitable. On the outside, the iPhone Fold behaves like a familiar device. When closed, it resembles a standard iPhone with a 5.5-inch display. It measures roughly 9 millimeters thick, which is surprisingly slim for a foldable device. Apple clearly wants users to feel comfortable using it like a normal phone without constantly thinking about the hinge or the folding mechanism. But unfold it, and everything changes.
Towards the back half of next year, so 2026, presumably for a fall or a holiday launch like that. And this is also coming, Sarah, after Samsung a couple weeks ago launched their latest version of the foldable phone that actually looks like something you want to use. I'm showing you a picture or a video of it right now. It's really a better concept than what they used to have. The front of the screen looks more like a real phone. It's nice and thin. It sounds like the technology has finally gotten to the place to put it out there. But of course, we got to talk about the cost. That phone I'm showing you right now from Samsung, that's a $2,000 smartphone. That is double the price most people pay for a regular smartphone. So that could help Apple, if it's in that price range, juice revenue for the slagging iPhone we've been seeing over the last few years. But it's going to be an interesting sell for this kind of unproven technology. It's popular in markets like Asia, especially in China. As far as market share, people by a long shot don't buy these foldable devices in the same way they buy regular phones, guys.
Stuffed pizza crust. It's not a new idea.
No,
right?
not even close.
I mean, Samsung's been doing it for a while. It also sort of reminds me of a flip phone. So is it worth it now?
Yeah, a lot of people do like them. Again, the price is so expensive. And if Samsung is selling it for $2,000, I can't imagine Apple doing any cheaper than that. So first of all, you got to get over that cost barrier. But then the idea is, okay, fine, I have a phone, but it can also fold into an iPad. So maybe you just buy one device. That could be a value. But you also got to keep in mind on the price front, no one actually pays the sticker price, or most people don't pay that sticker price. They either do payment plans through their carriers, or they trade in their old devices and things like that. So it's kind of up to you. For me, it sounds like kind of the dream, right? You don't want a device instead of two. That's pretty interesting. But I think the rumors have finally gotten to the point, Sarah, where we're at this inflection point where the technology is finally to what the ultimate vision is there. And that's what we saw with the Samsung device. And it sounds like Apple is getting close to the exact same thing.
Yeah, some constructive previews of the quarter as well from a couple of firms this morning, Steve.
Yeah, next
we'll talk in a bit. Yep, Steve Kovac.
Inside, the iPhone Fold reveals a 7.8-inch display, nearly iPad-sized. It transforms from a phone into a tablet in seconds. When fully opened, the device is just 4.5 millimeters thin. That's thinner than most smartphones on the market today. It's an engineering flex, and Apple knows it. This design choice signals something important. Apple isn't trying to replace the iPhone or the iPad. It's trying to merge them. The iPhone Fold sits in a new category entirely, positioned between Apple's two most successful products. For users who want a larger screen without carrying a separate tablet, Apple is offering a single device that adapts to the moment. Camera placement follows this hybrid philosophy. The iPhone Fold is expected to feature 4 cameras, one on the exterior for quick selfies, 2 rear-facing cameras for traditional photography, and 1 internal camera for video calls and content creation when the device is unfolded. It's designed to work naturally in both modes, without forcing users to think about which camera they're using. Security, however, is where Apple makes a surprising decision. Face ID is gone. Instead, Touch ID makes a return, embedded directly into the power button. It's a practical choice. With a foldable form factor, Face ID would be difficult to position consistently across both screens. Touch ID, on the other hand, works instantly no matter how the device is held. It's also a nostalgic nod to longtime Apple users who still prefer fingerprint authentication. Under the hood, the iPhone Fold is expected to debut Apple's second-generation in-house cellular modem, the C2. This move continues Apple's long-term strategy of controlling more of its own hardware stack. By designing its own modem, Apple can optimize battery efficiency, performance, and integration in ways third-party components simply can't match. Battery life has always been a major concern for foldable devices, but Apple appears to have addressed this head-on. By slimming down the display driver and using high-density battery cells, Apple has created more internal space for power. Combined with the efficiency improvements of the C2 modem, the iPhone Fold could outperform existing foldables in real-world battery life, an area where competitors have historically struggled. Color options will be minimal, black and white only. This isn't about variety, it's about positioning. Apple wants the iPhone Fold to feel serious, premium, and unmistakably high-end. And then there's the price. The iPhone Fold is expected to cost somewhere between $2,000 and $2,500. That price alone tells you everything you need to know about Apple's strategy. This isn't meant to be a mass-market device, at least not yet. It's positioned as the ultimate iPhone, the device that sits above even the Pro Max, the phone that defines the lineup.
When Samsung released its latest folding phone, the Galaxy Z Fold 7 in July, some said the era of the folding smartphone had arrived.
Galaxy Fold 7 and Galaxy Flip 7, and the demand has been incredible. We broke pre-order records with our Fold device, for example, showing that consumers are gravitating towards that foldable form factor. We've built in more and more innovation to where these are now mainstream devices that consumers are opting for bar-type phones.
This next generation of folding phones entered the market in 2018 with the release of the Royal Flex Pi, followed in 2019 by Fold. Google followed with the Pixel Fold. Motorola revived the Razr. Chinese brands like Huawei and Xiaomi pushed designs to be thinner and light. Even Nokia has re-entered the flip phone space, adding modern features like apps. Now, Apple is reportedly expected to join the foldable Ray 26.
This is not a new idea that Apple might do it, but it seems like they're closer than ever to actually making it happen. The plan is to do this in fall of 2026 and have their answer to it.
But even with more brands in the game, foldables are still far from mainstream.
At the moment, very little reasons for most people to replace their phones. So the reason to upgrade, it needs to be something that is really different from what we have today in our pockets. And that's where the foldables can become the proposition for end users to upgrade.
So why are tech companies down, and why might Apple make its move now? In the 2000s, flip phones were the phones to have. Then the BlackBerry arrived, and in 2007, the iPhone redefined the smartphone.
How are we a mobile device? Well, what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen.
That really was the modern take on the smartphone. You know, the full touchscreen, no physical buttons or no physical keyboard. That really did in 2007. And it took several years for competitors to really catch up to what the iPhone was doing. Google, of course, put out Android a couple years, but it wasn't until 3 or 4 years after the original iPhone launch that you could kind of say Android and other devices were with what Apple was offering with the iPhone.
Fast forward to 2019, Samsung launched the first Galaxy Fold. It was a breakthrough, but durability was a problem.
It was not as durable as it is now from a screen perspective. The other one was the design of the crease of the hinge itself allowed for some debris and dust to go under the screen, which impacted durability. But, as a first of its kind, I think is one of those things that it's just teething problem.
Early on with any new innovation, there's naturally trade-offs where there's this great new innovation, but you might be foregoing other things along the way. And I think this year in particular, we've really overcome all of those barriers. This year, it's at 8.9 millimeters slim. So that's the thickness of just one of our standard flagship phones, and it unfolds into a large format experience. Same with our flip device. In the past, people said they'd like to see a more flagship size battery life, for example. And this year we increased the battery life, so it's on par with any of our flagships in terms of battery life.
Today in the US, there are roughly 8 to 10 current models available, including devices from Samsung, Motorola, Google, and OnePlus. And Google just released a teaser of its latest Pixel 10 Pro Fold. But they still make up less than 2% of global smartphone shipments in 2024. Price is another hurdle. Many models cost between $1,500 and $2,000.
The price is at the high end of the smartphone market, a niche market in terms of volume. Now, what can change that? I don't think there's been that much progress made on that front to make it mass market yet, but what you do need to have, prices need to come down over time.
Apple's date is reportedly set for 2026.
A very, very thin smartphone now with today's technology, and if the foldable devices get better, they can make it bigger on the front. So a lot of more pieces are in place right now if Apple wanted to do it. But again, there's no guarantee.
It's never been about trying to be the first. It's being about watchful, seeing a technology mature, knowing that there are no big roadblocks to that technology adoption, and then moving ahead and creating a differentiation more on the user experience. And that's what Apple is really focused on doing, is the technology hurdles that were seen initially, both on the user experience side as well as the longevity of the device.
The Apple device could be a book-style iPhone 0.8-inch crease inner display and a reinforced hinge, all aimed at improving durability and usability, according to a TF internal analyst, Ming Chi. Quote,
entering now, I think, is a function of, the improvements in the durability. There's been a lot of compromise, the thickness, the durability, and the camera specs and so forth. And Samsung, I think, finally with the 7s, which just launched last month in July, finally reduced the compromise.
One of the challenges you had in the early days is you would buy a foldable phone and it would last you probably only 1 or 2 years. I think even if you go today and look at what the general perception is of the foldable devices, they're expected that if you buy one today, you're probably going to use it for 3-4 years. There's a certain amount of folds that these screens can take.
If Apple can solve for both durability and usability, it could help expand foldables beyond a niche and into the mainstream. Samsung and Huawei have been the global leaders in folding smartphones the past few years, but it's expected that Apple quickly take a large market share with the release of its folding phone. Apple declined our request for comment. Samsung and Google pitch foldables as AI-first devices. Large screens allow for better multitasking of tools and easier content creation.
I do think that AI and the foldable form factor really go well together. AI is taking away some of the friction that we feel using a phone, and so having that larger screen is going to help us bring to life more that are linked to getting work done, whatever work that is. It could be productivity, but it's also a lot of creativity.
The AI use case for each of the unique form factors. So on Fold, for example, we're opening to large format display. Through our partnership with Google and Circle to Search, that brought to the line format where you can continue to see the screen that you've circled and get the information to the side of that, so you can have a more productive experience going back between what you're looking at and engaging with the information.
But challenges remain. Higher prices than standard iPhones, complex engineering, perception that foldables are still for a niche audience. Adoption is higher in markets like China and South Korea, where they're far more common than in the US.
Look at the market today, it's about 19-20 million units annually, has been roughly at that for the last couple of years, and keeping this is a 1 billion plus sort of smartphone market. So it's pretty niche part of the smartphone market and niche part even of the premium smartphone market itself.
It's a niche market that's stabilizing, that's improving in the quality of the phones, but for always said, the team and I have always discussed, like, the foldable form factor is inevitable, we think, longer term. It's just the price premium needs to be in the 10% range relative to a normal phone. And there's been a really large price premium and a lot of compromise on functionality. So we're getting rid of the functionality. It's just what's the premium the market's willing to pay to essentially turn an iPhone 16 Pro Max into an iPad mini.
But Samsung says prices are going to come down with models like the Flip 7 FE, launching under $1,000, and expects that trend to continue as the technology.
Flip FE launched with Flip and Fold 7, and it's actually at a price point under $1,000. It's $899 as the point there. So you're already starting to see that curve come down in terms of what a more accessible price point for foldable looks like. And I think as the technology matures, you'll certainly see more of that.
If Apple can turn foldables into a mass market product, it could reshape the phone industry.
Well, on paper, foldable phones sound great, right? The idea that instead of going out there and buying a tablet for $500 to $1,000 and another $1,000 phone, you can just have one device that does it all. It's a phone when you need it to be, then you can unpack it to watch a movie or to do more work or things like that. So just the idea of having one hybrid device instead of carrying two around, that's the pitch right there.
In fact, this may finally be the moment Apple introduces an Ultra tier to the iPhone family. The Fold opens the door for Apple to justify an entirely new pricing category, one where innovation, not affordability, is the selling point. And Apple customers? History suggests they'll line up anyway. What makes the iPhone Fold such a powerful move isn't just the hardware, it's the timing. Foldables are no longer experimental curiosities. They've matured just enough for Apple to step in and redefine expectations. By waiting, Apple avoided early mistakes, learned from competitors, and entered the market with a product that aims to eliminate the biggest compromises users have tolerated so far. This is classic Apple behavior. The iPhone Fold isn't about being first. It's about being definitive. It's about arriving late and still stealing the spotlight. It's about taking an idea that already exists and making it feel like it was Apple's all along. If Apple truly delivers a creaseless foldable with strong battery life, refined software, and seamless integration into the Apple ecosystem, the impact will be immediate. Foldables will no longer feel optional or niche. They'll feel like the next logical step. The iPhone Fold isn't just a new product, it's a signal. A signal that Apple believes foldables are ready. a signal that the smartphone form factor is evolving again. And a reminder that when Apple makes its move, the industry shifts around it. This isn't Apple following trends. This is Apple resetting them.
Apple reportedly eyeing a launch for a foldable iPhone as soon as next year, as the company looks for their next leg of growth, with shares down double digits since January. Steve Kovac here to talk about the rumors, I guess we'll call them, Steve. What do we know?
Yeah, we've been hearing about this for a number of years, Sarah. In fact, going back 7 years that Apple was kind of dabbling in this idea of a foldable phone. The latest that we have, though, I'll refer to Ming-Chin Kuo. He's that analyst over at TF Securities. He's really tapped into the supply chain. He says this is going to go into mass production towards the back half of next year, so 2026, probably for a fall or a holiday launch like that. And this is also coming, Sarah, after Samsung just a couple weeks ago launched their latest version of the foldable phone. It actually looks like something you want to use. I'm showing you a picture or a video of it right now. It's really a much better concept than what they used to have. The front of the screen, the phone, it's nice and thin. It sounds like the technology has finally gotten to the place where Apple thinks it can put it out there. But of course, we got to talk about the cost.